Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, May 28th to Saturday, June 3rd. Okay, so last week we moved into Gemini season. And yes, it's been very low and slow. And again, a lot of that is because of the overabundance of earth energies really grounding us, paralyzing us in our physical bodies in order for our head space, our heart space to get in alignment, to recalibrate from that eclipse season that we just shut the door on. Now, this past week was semi-quiet, I would say. It was meant to, in order for us to kind of get in gear, get focused, get our intents in order. And of course, if you're listening to me Friday evening, first of all, I want to thank you for being here, but we still haven't hit that first quarter moon that will be taking place in Virgo energy here on Saturday. That is basically all we got going on. And the fact that we're in Gemini season, where Mercury's in his rulership, and Virgo energy is ruled over by Mercury as well, and Mercury's still kind of in a little bit of a mental fog from his post-retrograde shadow period that, of course, will be cleared out. June 1st, we're still in it though. This first quarter moon in Virgo has us kind of in a position where we have to take action, where we have to decide, where we have to choose. That happens with every first quarter moon. And of course, we have to go back to the new moon in Taurus energy that we just had, that we closed the door on eclipse season. We have to go back there in order to understand what it is that we've been divided on, what it is that we've been confused about, what it is that we've been kind of paralyzed in taking action upon. And now with this Virgo energy, we're sorting things out. We're identifying the problems. Of course, Virgo energy, the fixer, the problem solver of the zodiac. We are looking to put the pieces together, and we might not have the clearest big picture vision that we were hoping for, and we might not even have the smallest details put together in how we're actually going to move forward, but we are leaning one side over the other. One choice over the other, one direction, one path over the other, little tiny bits and pieces coming together, mostly showing us what it is that we don't want to continue to experience. And of course, that is a very powerful perspective to have. We might not know where we're going, but we sure as hell know what we're not going back to. And sometimes that's all we need in order to kind of pick a side, pick a path, pick a direction, and actively start working towards bringing it to life, pursuing that particular passion, that particular path, that particular mission. So what do we got going on this week? Well, we are finishing up May. Again, go back, listen to May's energy forecast for a little bit of a refresher on what May was intended to teach us. We will be diving into June. And of course, with that, a whole bunch of information coming at you this week. Special mention on June 1st, we do have Jupiter conjunct the true node. Now, this is going to break the hold that we've been in with this Jupiter, Pluto, Mars node square that we've been in. If you're wondering why everything's been frustrating, why everything's been agitating, why there's been a funk, why we're being stuck in a state of paralysis, blame it on the Jupiter, Pluto, Mars node square. We will clear that energy as we move into June. That's why I've been saying hold off on making any kinds of decisions and commitments until we get into June's energy. You don't even know that you're not well informed. You don't even know that you're missing information and details. You don't even know that there are puzzle pieces yet to be delivered to you to snap together to make a bigger picture, to have you a little bit more informed and educated on the path, on the decisions, on the choices that you are looking to make. We will be moving into this full moon energy. We're going to be having this last, I'm going to say, week of Venus being in Cancer energy, thank goodness, kind of activated under the full moon in Sag that we'll be having on the 3rd. Venus moves into Leo energy on the 5th. And again, stay tuned this week for all kinds of June information coming with the energy forecast and such. But basically, this full moon in Sag energy provides us with a new truth, a new perspective, a big picture perspective at that. And because of that, we fly high. We have a different perspective. We're acting as the observer. We're seeing how the smaller details that we didn't even know that we were missing come together in order to paint the bigger picture that we have been essentially waiting for. And of course, with that Sag energy, We have a different purpose. We have a different mission. We have a different direction that we want to take. And we will be hot to trot in being able to do that. As I've been speaking about, June is the game changer. The first half of Gemini season, which of course we're already in, is kind of slow, kind of stunting our growth, our progress, if you will. That has been divinely scripted to kind of keep us in a state of physical paralysis so that the energetic realm that we've been working very hard on growing and expanding has a little bit of time to settle back into the meat suit. Of course, we hit that brick wall under the new moon in Taurus energy that jolted our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual self all back into this physical meat suit. That's why we've been heavy. That's why we've been weighted. That's why we have been struggling over this past week to get up and go, to actually feel good in these meat suits, because it doesn't feel good. We are stuffing a huge energetic source being back into the confines of this earthly meat suit. So the aches and pains and the blockages, they're just very, very prominent, very intense in our physical forms as of right now. And as we move into June and we get away from some of these tougher aspects that we've been sitting in, and we move closer to some of the more positive aspects that are going to get the ball rolling and have us making up for lost time, you best believe that we are going to feel a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable in these physical meat suits as the energy kind of alleviates the pressure and we get out of some of these very tough, heavy, earthly energy aspects. So we are going to feel a dramatic shift in energy. Before I dive into the Ascension symptoms this week, I want to take this opportunity to thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, sharing, commenting. Thank you for being in the chat if you are lucky enough to be in the chat here Friday evening. If you are catching the replay, I really appreciate you dropping me a line, even just a little emoji in the comments to keep this algorithm going. YouTube, what a bugger YouTube is. And we know, I'm not going to go into a rant, we know why YouTube is attacking the truthers. I consider myself flattered that they go out of their way to try and just, squash my channel. But it's because of y'all, the love, the support, the commenting, the sharing, that you keep me in the algorithm. And I thank you so much for doing that, because it puts the information in front of the people that need to know it, to feel it, to validate in it. And especially where we're moving into a very interesting shifting time as we move into June. I think there's going to be a lot more people, not necessarily awakened, but more people really kind of looking for answers on why this particular energy shit show is happening in the way that it's happening. So with that, I do want to remind you that the Gemini season e-guide is available for download on my website, or of course, if you're a Patreon Gold tier member, it is included in your subscription. You can find all of that information on my website. And of course, as we are moving towards closing out 1 month and jumping into another, there will be June energy forecast. There will be June zodiac forecast. There will be a full moon guide released towards the end of this week. So again, feel free to jump over on my website, download them individually, or of course, save yourself a couple of bucks and subscribe to a Patreon subscription where most of that content is included, especially in the gold tier. You get everything that I create all in one place. With that being said, I also wanted to just throw out that you may have noticed, because it's been brought to my attention, people asking, so I know some people have noticed, that over the last couple of weeks, my posts have been, I'm going to say, out of sync with the normal time that I normally post, especially the daily vibes. And even the videos for the daily energy forecasts. Now, reason being is I like to stick to a certain routine. I use the schedulers for, creators to be able to pre-schedule their posts and have them be published at a certain time, a certain day, so that I don't have to have any part in it. It can just be all automated. And for the most part, it works well until it doesn't. And of course, while Mercury was deep in its retrograde, none of those things worked for me. And I wasn't even realizing that things weren't posting until I would get a message asking, where's the daily vibes today? Or where's the energy forecast? Well, I thought I had solved all of those problems. And then I do have a couple of really amazing creators that have reached out to me that have channels that are just amazing in numbers and amazing in content. And they had recommended that I break free of a schedule and that I break free of using those scheduling apps to see if maybe I can activate a new algorithm, if I can kind of break free from the mundane routine that the algorithm has me in and kind of put my content out at different times. For the most part, I don't know that it's working, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how successful this little experiment has been. I know that the one thing that it's done is upset some people because God forbid 9 a.m. the daily vibes aren't there, and God forbid mid-afternoon the next day energy forecast isn't there. I appreciate the patience. I really do. I'm just trying something new. I will probably revert back to my old scheduling process. I just needed to see if changing things up was going to help my channel, help my algorithm at all. And I don't know that it did anything. So for those of you that have been wondering why my posts are all over the place, that is why. And I will likely be returning to regular posting programming here next week because I don't know that it's done a whole hell of a lot for me. Okay, so that's pretty much all that I want to cover as far as homework goes. I want to jump into the Ascension symptoms for this week because there's going to be a lot of them. I will tell you that. Let's just start off talking about yesterday's blackout on the Schumann Resonance. We are, as you know, we've jumped timelines. As you know, we are recalibrating, realigning from the energetic chaos that ensued while eclipse season was alive and well. We are in a brand new timeline, brand new level of this video game, if you will. And yesterday's blackout was intense. This is like, the physical body is achy, the physical body having a hard time keeping up the physical energy to do all the things. Again, there's a reason for that. We will not be stunted out in this energy for much longer. This first quarter moon in Virgo here on Saturday will open up the opportunity for us to get some of our physical energy back, for the weight to be lifted, if you will, and to have the window of opportunity open up for us to actually make moves and take action. I want to just remind you that we cannot be acting on impulse. We cannot be just going out flying by the seat of our pants. This particular timeline, this stage of, I'm going to say, creation, needs to be strategic, needs to be calculated in a lot of ways. So this is why we've been stunted out. You should be using this opportunity to really kind of process new thoughts, new ideas, and emotionally sort through what it is that you're being called to pursue. And a lot of the choices that we're being presented with, one makes logical, practical sense. The other probably doesn't make as much logical, practical sense, but it feels right. And so we need to kind of be constantly processing the pros and cons of each the ideas, projects, goals, dreams, visions that are popping off in us in order to actually get the lay of the land on what it is that we want to push through. Now, heads up, we're just fresh in this Gemini season, and Gemini season is all about the mental plane and exploring our options and doing the research and gathering information and details in order for us to be well informed. Keep in mind that as we end Gemini season, and of course we're just getting into it, so in no way am I trying to fast forward this, but Gemini season is the last season before we enter into another karmic reset point, which of course comes with the summer solstice when the sun moves into Cancer season. So as we kind of move through Gemini season, and as I've previously mentioned, and as you may know if you've already downloaded your Gemini season e-guide, the first half of Gemini season is low and slow for us to get a grip, for us to get focus, for us to get in alignment. The second half of Gemini season is going to be such an acceleration of action, of time, of events, of progress, that you really need to get grounded and sure in this first half. Because in the second half, when the wheels start spinning and the activities start, getting squished together, and all of a sudden we are making up for lost time, you're not going to have time to think. Okay, you're not going to have time for any of this pause energy that we're currently sitting in now. And it's going to get hella crazy and chaotic, especially that last week of Gemini season before we enter into Cancer season, because of course we reach that karmic reset point. We get a karmic reset point at the beginning of the astrology year when Aries season kicks off the spring equinox. We get it in Cancer season with the summer solstice. We get it in the fall with Libra season, the fall equinox. We get it in Capricorn season. That's the winter solstice. And each karmic point is a certain, I'm going to say, success lock-in point, just as much as it is a reset point for this next karmic chapter. Keep in mind that Cancer season is going to be a time of building and strengthening the foundations. The foundations of what, you may ask? Well, the foundations that fell apart in eclipse season, the foundations that we're currently contemplating changing up and experimenting with here in Gemini season. Foundations such as, who are you? What do you want to do? Do you want to be in this relationship anymore? Do you like your job? Do you feel safe and secure in your finances, in your resources? Do you feel like you need to make a move? What move is it that you want to make? These are the questions, and these are the answers that we will be seeking through Gemini season. We will arrive at some sort of resolution, and then we get to building in Cancer season under a brand new energy, a brand new karmic influence, because of that karmic reset that comes with these activation points. And again, the summer solstice. So we have a lot going on. And this week, I would say, is going to be a very evidential week of where the energy shifts. Keep in mind, we need a lot of patience to still kind of ride this roller coaster ride into June. June is absolutely when things are going to change for the better. And again, a lot of that is because we will be free of this particular square and opposition going on. You know, Mars and Pluto are opposite. Jupiter and Pluto are squaring. The nodes of the moon were involved in that a couple of days ago. We've loosened our grip on that. But of course, as I mentioned, June 1st, not only do we jump into new life lessons, new vibrations, new frequencies, just because it is a brand new month, but Jupiter is going to be conjunct the true node. And this is something that only happens every 12 years. So yeah, kind of a big deal. The true node being our soul path, our destiny point, Jupiter being about growth and expansion. You best believe that we're going to see some elements manifest, some cornerstone foundational elements manifest in our life in order to get us on the right track. This is where we start stabilizing some of the things that we've been on the fence on, or on the fence about, I should say. But with June 1st, that is when we're going to start seeing our physical energy come back. Again, window of opportunity opens up here this weekend with the first quarter moon in Virgo. But we are, and not that I want to get too involved to, you know, the cycles going on this week, because that's what the daily energy forecasts are all about. But when we have the first quarter moon in Virgo, that's going to be a point of action, a point of decision, a point of confirmation of validation within ourselves. Then the moon moves into Libran energy, where we have a couple of days to actually like get balanced, to regain our footing, so to speak, after that jolt of energy. Well, June 1st, the moon is going to be in Scorpio energy. Scorpio energy is deeply transformative. And of course, Scorpio energy is taking us down into the darkness, reminding us of all the things that popped off through the eclipse season, not just the one that we just came out of, but for the last year and a half, because of course we are shedding that particular skin so that we can move on into the Aries and Libran axis here in July. But there's a little bit of a reminder, a little bit of a refresher of the darkness, of the stickiness, of the weight that we are no longer wanting to experience. And of course, we sit in that darkness, sit in that funk as we move into that full moon window. And the full moon window illuminates details and information that were previously hidden from our view, from our knowledge, from our conscious self. It also illuminates for us where it is that we need to go. And then we have the full moon move into that Sag energy, which is a fire energy, which typically speaking is the light at the end of the very dark tunnel that Scorpio takes us in. And then we have a brand new perspective, a brand new truth, a brand new mission, a brand new purpose, a brand new adventure unfolding for us that we will be actively taking action and making progress on, especially as we move into the first full week of June. So that physical energy will be creeping back. We will hit a brand new level of physical energy June 1st, and then it will continue building. And you best believe that on the 5th of June, when Venus moves into Leo energy, we are going to feel that rush of fire energy just take over and, of course, help us kind of dry off from that emotional saturation that we've all been experiencing with Venus in this Cancer energy. After June 1st, we are going to gain some clarity back. Why is that, you may ask? Well, because Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of this particular season as well, going to be free and clear of that post-retro shade period. So he's going to be operating at his 100%, giving us all kinds of different thoughts, different ideas, different perspectives, if you will. And of course, that is how clarity is gained. Again, not that I want to go too far into June's energy, but you best believe we're in for a doozy when Mercury actually takes its place of power in Gemini energy on the 11th, just hours after Pluto goes retrograde back into Capricorn energy. So there's definitely going to be some energy there. And it's going to affect the headspace, the mental plane, of course. You will notice the congestion that we've been struggling with kind of dissolving, kind of dissipating. Hopefully it just goes away on its own. However, you may need to kind of, edge that congestion, that snot train on, if you will. And I don't know if you're going to understand the sensation that I'm trying to explain with this, but this is the best way I can come up with it. It's going to feel like we have Rice Krispies in our head. Okay, so the crack, snapple, pop, that fizzing, that bubbling, that is what it's going to feel like. And I hope that makes sense, but just think of the experience of, pouring milk into Rice Krispies. If that was a sensation and you could stick that in your mental plane, that's what it's going to feel like. There's like a bubbling going on, like you have carbonation in your head. And it is essentially happening because the weight, the fog, the heaviness is dissipating and clarity is coming in. So everything is lighter and brighter. But also there is a lot of the pressure system in the head and the crown that is shifting. We're not as heavy. We're not as weighted in the physical body. The energy starts moving again. And the energy in this case is kind of moving through a cyclic nature, especially in the headspace. And it's going to feel like Rice Krispies or carbonation, fuzzies in our head. With that being said, that's going to be an interesting sensation all in itself. Our restlessness and anxiety is likely going to peak under this first quarter moon in Virgo. Virgo energy, of course, rules over the stomach, but always brings in a certain amount of worry, a certain amount of anxiety anyways. Gemini season in its entirety brings in a lot of anxiety, a lot of anticipation, a lot of restlessness, just because it's an air energy. And air energy carries electricity. That's what gives us our bolt of lightning, our bolt of aha moments and epiphanies. But we're going to be feeling more and more restless, especially as we kind of anticipate leaving May behind and entering into June, because Mars, who is in Leo energy, who is just anxious as F to get the party started, to get the ball rolling here, is just rearing to go. And we're going to have an amazing shift in our attitude and in our mood because we move into this new level of boldness, of bravery, of courage that we haven't had over the last, I'm going to say, week and a half, that we might not even have enough of around June 1st in order to really tap into the energies, but we are constantly increasing that boldness, that bravery, that courage. We do have to make some strategic and calculated risks in order to enter into this new, I'm going to say, path or direction or platform of creation. And so the readiness, being trigger happy, I want to remind you, remember when you're like, you're waiting for a race and you're at that line and you're kind of, your body's all riled up, just waiting for the gun to go off or the flag to drop or whatever, but you're kind of afraid that you're going to jump the gun and go too early, or that you're going to be paralyzed and miss a couple of seconds and everybody else is going to get ahead of you. Well, we have this readiness. We have this trigger happy type of anxiety and restlessness happening, especially as we get closer to June 1st. Now, the sleep fog is going to dissipate. Man, has it been thick I definitely cannot wait for the sleep fog that many of us have been sitting in literally all day. We wake up in a sleep fog. We are dozy and dreamy and blah all day. That is going to be lifting pretty much around that June 1st as well. And a lot of that is contributed to A, the overabundance of earth energy, and B, Mercury kind of waking up to his fullest potential once again. Now, because of all the changes going on to our physical body, and of course, we've been going through this realignment, this recalibration series of our energies, our mind, our body, our soul, our sensory experience is always affected. We always kind of have new sensations take over, new experiences take over when we go through an upgrade, when we go through a recalibration, when we go through a realignment. This, especially in our head space, so I want you to think about the sensory input and output of your head space. You got your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your ears right there, okay? The orbs or flashes of light or bursts of light or seeing normal, let's say, landscapes with a more vibrant type of color, the light spectrum that our eyes are able to tap into is changing once again. The fuzzies, the bubblies in the head are going to have a major impact on our ears, our auditory system, how it is that we're bringing in information. The normal ringing in your ears when a download is received, that is changing as well. It almost feels like we are in an airplane and there's a constant pressurized system on the outside of our ears, not really in the internal realm like we've been used to with all the pressure in our head and in our crown. It's going to feel like the time and the space in our exterior realm is pushing on our head space. And so, you know how when you're in a plane, you have to kind of like pop your ears and you didn't even realize that everything was muffled. We are going to be going in this muffled state back to clarity, muffled state back to clarity. And it's definitely going to happen part and parcel with our eyes realizing new flashes of light, new streams, maybe seeing the threads of the matrix, if you will, the coding of your external realm around you. But regardless, there's a sensitivity coming into our eyes, coming into our ears, coming into our smell, to our taste, to our whole kind of central nervous system, because we're leveling up, we're realigning, we're recalibrating. And so pay attention to the smells that are overly strong. I don't know about you all, but that interdimensional bleed of that moldy smell that some of you have definitely agreed with me and said that you're experiencing as well, that the not so nice smells should dissipate. We should kind of be reorienting ourselves into the more pleasurable seeking of the auditory, smell, sight, taste senses. We should be leaning towards more enjoyment, more passion, more pleasure. And a lot of that is because we are moving into the Leo energy. We're both going to have the masculine and feminine divine energies of Venus and Mars in the heart and the soul of the zodiac, that lion energy, that Leo energy. And so this is really going to change what experiences we're actually picking up on. And most of those experiences are going to be favorable compared to the dirt smelling, funky, fresh smelling energies that we have been sitting in. The thirst is going to be a brand new thing, mostly because we're in Gemini season. We have a thirst for information. We have a thirst for knowledge. We have a thirst for experience, but our physical body is going to need hydration, as in quenching our thirst with fluids of some sort. And we're going to see our skin change. We've kind of been on the oily side of things, so things are going to start drying out now. Again, we're in an air energy, so things are drying out, and that's a good thing, especially once we see Venus move this Cancer energy. We are definitely going to see a major shift in the hydration factor of our skin, and for many of us, drying things out. That air bubble that many of us have been struggling with in our solar plexus, underneath our ribs, in our guts, that indigestion, if you will, that will be rapidly changing, which is a very welcomed scene, a very welcome situation. I know myself, I can't wait to not have to deal with this air bubble and have to do yoga 50 million times a day just to continue to get that air bubble moving. But again, this is a part of the recalibration, the realignment that we've been going through, and therefore our solar plexus, which is our strength, our will, our wisdom, it's kind of that joiner between the heart chakra, which is the medium chakra that connects the lower and higher chakras to make us one full complete system. That's going through a renovation, I'm going to say a recalibration as well. And therefore that energy is going to kind of get turned down a little bit, and we're going to be released, if you will, from the digestive air bubble, sickiness, nausea type of feelings. One thing that is probably going to be uncomfortable moving forward is our knees, our ankles, our feet, our lower back, if you will, maybe some sciatica issues creeping up and creeping in. And mostly that is due to the fact that we are being put on a path in order to take some action, to make some moves, to take some steps forward. And of course, we hold fear in our lower extremities. So if you are having any kind of lower extremity discomfort, we need to get into the realization that energetically speaking, you are afraid to move forward. You are afraid to take that next step. Regardless of why, it doesn't really matter. There is a mirroring effect taking place in your physical body where it is that emotionally speaking, you do not feel safe and secure and stable to actually move forward. So you can heal that with making positive affirmations with each step that you take, reminding yourself that you're safe, that you're strong, that you're stable, that you're secure, and that you have 100% intent in moving forward. The other thing that's going to be a little bit, I'm going to say, uncomfortable is our throat chakra. Now, it could be very itchy. It could be very sore. Maybe you need to clear your throat. Maybe it's itchy, scratchy, and everything that I just mentioned, and then some. Could be a little bit of both, but basically it's because we're in Gemini season. We have a lot to say. We're thinking about a lot, but we also have a lot to say, a lot to express. And that involves our throat chakra. And we are definitely trying to put the words together, trying to articulate what's going on in our inner realms and what we want to communicate and express outwardly and the conversations that we need to have. And therefore, we have some gunk, some itchiness, some scratchiness taking place in our throat chakra, which of course is going to be a little bit irritating. I want to talk about the itchiness though. As you know, anytime the itchiness takes over, it is a sign of healing. Itchiness is the last sign of healing. And we are going to experience a lot of itchiness in the areas that have been most problematic for us. So I know a lot of people have been struggling with their neck, having a stiff neck, sore neck, whatever. Well, that's because you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, and we are lessening that weight as we move into June. And because of that, you might find that there is a spot that you are just eager to itch on your neck space that you just can't itch. That is a sign of healing. You might find that the itchiness is on the palms or on the base of the feet. Those are both really good signs because you have soul chakras and you have palm chakras that we've been working very hard to activate, because that is a part of keeping us grounded, keeping us moving forward, keeping us in a progression mode, and also using our power to create. That's what those particular chakras are all about. So just pay attention to where the itchiness is kind of coming into your physical body, and just understand that it is likely going to be an area that has had a lot of discomfort as of late, and that it's a good indication that things are changing. A lot of people will have it in their headspace with that bubbly effect or that Rice Krispie sensation as well, because there's been a lot of pressure in the headspace. We've had a lot of downloads really affect the crown. We've had a lot of evolution in our third eye. And so we have to expect for that to be an activator, a wound, if you will, and the itchiness to move in to try and heal it. So I know I talked about thirst, but our cravings are going to change as well. And a lot of that is because our diets are changing. And a lot of that is because the actual intake of food is changing as well. Many of us, again, living in the state of hunger and nausea at the same time. Many of us have had those air bubbles, that bubble guts, for a very, very long time now. As I've previously mentioned, digestive issues will always be a very dominant Ascension symptom just because of the nerves in our stomachs and our digestive system. And of course, our central nervous system is how we bring the energies in and how we regulate it and how we alchemize it. So we have to expect a little bit of a digestive upset, especially when we are shifting and changing dramatically in energies, in timelines, and of course, in this recalibration and realignment situation, we're going to see our cravings, our diet, our intake needs absolutely change as well. So it's been no secret that time has been absolutely whack, you know? Many of us have been experiencing the fast forward effect, and then all of a sudden time stands still. And it just takes forever for time to go by. And then all of a sudden we're fast tracked again and we don't know if we're coming or going. We are going to see an attempt for time stabilization, which is going to feel super strange. And it's basically our new vibrations, our new frequency. We have been going through this fast forward, this stop, this standstill, this fast forward, this rewind energy, in order to see where it is that we feel most comfortable, where the vibration and frequency that we're now locking in our physical bodies, where that feels the best, the most comfortable in this time warp that we have been experimenting with. So for many of us, we are going to find our quiet, well, I don't know if it's going to be quiet. We're going to find our comfort zone in the quiet space, let's say, of realizing the fast forward and rewind buttons are up to you. So what I mean by that is like everything is visualization, right? You should be visualizing all of your pain, all of your discomfort as little knobs in your head that you can go in and turn down when they're too intense. That's how that's how you manipulate energy. So if you're not doing those practices, you definitely need to jump into that and start. But where time is concerned, I want you to visualize, if time's going a little bit too crazy, too wonky, and it's uncomfortable for you and you feel like you're in a spin, then you need to calm yourself and visualize in your head this knob button for your time experience and turn that button down. Or if you find yourself in a standstill and you really need a pick-me-up, you need to find that button in your head and you need to turn that knob up a bit. This is where we get to basically start again. We're in a new creation chapter with a new timeline. We get to kind of set the scene. We get to adjust the knobs that better suit us and where it is that we're at and what it is that we need. So we are going to see that time stabilization take place. You need to find a quiet spot within your physical reality, move into your mental reality, turn the knob, feel good about it, and then away we go. You might have to alter or adjust those knobs on a daily basis, maybe multiple times till you get the hang of it. But you will find the right little niche, the right little nook that you prefer to actually be living in. This is going to have a major impact, the time stabilization part, major impact on our dreamscapes, which of course have been kind of whack as well. Now, our dreamscapes will be moving in a very different tone, different cryptic message, different, I'm going to say just landscape altogether, especially once we clear out of May and we move into June. A lot of the conflicting and opposing energies right now, especially Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, in that very tight square in opposition, are creating some not so nice dream content for us. When we clear that, and of course we're in a mental energy in Gemini season, so there's rapid processing of our mental plane anyways, we are going to see a major shift, a major topic and theme shift, a major transition in our dreamscape. And many of us are very much looking forward to that, I would say, because dreams have been really, really strange. And again, may I just remind you that we haven't been as welcome in the astral realms as of late. That's why we're not able to sleep for too long at a time. That's why our conscious meditations aren't the same. That's why our dreamscapes are not the same, because we have to be here. We have to be on Earth. Many of us just want to sleep their lives away. I'm raising my hand in case you want to take a look around. I would just love to live in bed and just sleep. But we're needed here. We need to be awake. We need to root our energy here. And therefore, we are getting kicked out of the astral realms on a frequent basis. And that may change. I'm suspecting that will change more so when we move into the new karmic chapter that Cancer season, the summer solstice, ushers in. But nonetheless, we will start seeing the change once we kind of enter into June. I want you to pay attention to your physical body where it may appear like you have some bug bites or maybe little pimples or maybe just little blemishes of sorts. That's an indicator that there is a purge, there is a release of the lower vibrational energies of pain, of trauma in your physical body rising to the surface. The skin, of course, the largest organ and the last kind of layer of defense, if you will. It's the last indicator of what we get to know that's going on in our internal realm. And so just pay attention to where in the physical body you're finding those particular bug bite or pimples or breakouts or blemishes actually pop off, because that is going to be a major indicator of the emotional and mental work that you've been doing in certain realms of your body. And of course, all of those realms of your body connect to a chakra. Those chakras kind of rule over different experiences, different emotions, and you can kind of gain a lot of insight, a lot of information based off of the part of your body, the area of your body that these particular symptoms are actually manifesting in. So here is the last thing that I'm going to say. And it doesn't have anything to do with the physical body, but it's something that we're going to all be able to absorb and hopefully not absorb. We are about to move into a very interesting time where the weather patterns are going to be absolutely at the most extreme. And here's the wild thing. I've reached out. The information that I've received is that these are not man-made, which is just absolutely wild. So the information that I've received is that there is going to be a natural and organic unfolding of some pretty extreme weather events that are going to have major impacts on not only shifting and reshaping the area, the land, the topography in which they occur in, but also begin to displace people in a way that, how do I want to say this? Let's be clear. The weather patterns, yes, there is a certain amount of manipulation that we have been under as far as man manipulating the weather goes, 100%. But what I've kind of been shown and what I've been told is that the extreme weather patterns, and I'm talking like dormant volcanoes becoming active and popping off, extreme out of the blue, out of the realm of normal, like hurricanes, typhoons, weird events. I'm saying that in areas that are usually very dry and needing water, are going to get that water, while other areas that are normally moist and plentiful with water and rain, they are going to become dry. We're doing an opposite effect. We live in opposite upside down world, and now we're going to start seeing that in a very interesting way. Now, getting back to the man-made part of it, I firmly believe that a lot of the quote-unquote man-made plans for these weather patterns are to allow, I'm very choosy with my words, but there are situations and circumstances, natural situations and circumstances that are going to be popping off that put a lot of energy and power into the agenda that the depopulation and displacement of certain areas, certain groups of people, certain cultures are going to be accelerated. And a lot of this is driven by the insurance companies. No wonder YouTube hates me, but I don't care anymore. The insurance companies are going to start putting people that live in dangerous weather zones, putting them in a very interesting place where they're not going to be able to have insurance coverage anymore. And therefore, many of those people are going to have to relocate. And it's all part of a bigger scheme to have people moved into denser populations sitting on top of each other, blah, 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 blah. But the interesting part, when I got this vision, when I got this knowledge, I thought it was all man-made. And I thought, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense. No, they are natural occurring weather events that are getting pretty extreme for other reasons, mostly because of the solar flares popping off from the sun that is activating our ley lines, which are bringing new energies to different areas of the world that haven't been awoken in the way that they're awakening for a very long time. And then, of course, man is going to capitalize on that because that's what man does, right? So although there is a backstory, backline agenda for these, I'm going to say reorganizations of people to take place, I think that the unfolding of the natural disasters that are about to take place is just something that they're going to, the darker force agenda people are going to consider themselves kind of lucky because they didn't have to pull any strings in order for that to happen. They will 100% jump in and take control and exploit the situation, no doubt. But they, for the most part, are not going to be the ones responsible for some of the extreme weather patterns that we are about to see. And so that in no way is meant to scare anyone. It is just an indicator of how the timelines, yes, we have jumped, and how the circumstances of our environment are about to change as well. Keep in mind, Pluto, the great transformer himself, he's going to be retrograding back into Capricorn energy. Capricorn energy is earth energy, which means that there's a death needed in order for a resurrection or a rebuilding or a restructuring to take place. And the fact that Mercury moves into its place of power in Gemini energy at the same time, while Uranus, the higher octave of Mercury, is in Taurus energy, just giving us shakeups and wake-ups. We're talking random earthquakes. We're talking, again, volcanoes becoming active after years of dormancy. We're talking about lightning storms that create forest fires that even those man-made forest fires aren't going to be able to stand up to. And so it's going to be very interesting, of course, use as much caution as you possibly can, but we're going to start seeing these types of storylines unfold more and more on the greater, grander global stage. And that is just going to be an indication, and here's where I'm trying to tie things together for you. It's going to be an indication of the healing that Gaia, Mother Earth, is going through. Keep in mind, the reason why we're going through Ascension symptoms is because Mother Earth is going through her own healing journey. And we have two choices, either grow with her or get off. And she is reaching new levels of her awakening, of her vibrations, of her frequencies, which means that we are going through it just as she is going through it, and how we tell in our physical bodies that things are healing, like the itchiness that we talked about. We can tell the state of Gaia's healing journey based off of what's happening to Mother Earth herself. And I think we're moving into a very interesting time where we're going to see some, from our perspective, very damaging and destructive weather patterns take place. But in her ascension journey, she is basically just purging out her lower vibrations of trauma. And with that, just like we have to move inwards and kind of deal with the aches and pains in our chakra system, she has some purging, some releasing to do in her chakra system as well. And of course, the earth has a chakra system. If you're not aware of that, I would definitely encourage you to go look that up, dive into that kind of rabbit hole. But the ley lines, the meridian lines that are electricity, basically running throughout the earth, running through Gaia, they are popping off. And when they pop off, there's going to be some dramatic impact on the earth itself and the restructuring of the earth and the, I'm going to say, reorganization of where the population is dense and where it needs to kind of be thinned out. And in no way am I saying that we're in a situation where we need to minimize the population. I don't believe that. I actually believe that we're underpopulated, so it's not about that. But I think that if you were to connect the dots to these 15-minute smart cities that they're trying to enforce, how do you get people stuck into that? Well, you remove their homes or their ability to afford their homes. And how do you get everybody kind of in an area where they cannot flee to safer land? You push them into cities. And, you know, that's just part and parcel of that evil agenda. Of course, that's not the timeline that we're locking in, but it is a part of the experiment that we have to go through in order to see where the people's power, where the collective consciousness actually is. So guys, that was a mouthful and a half. As always, you know me, I always got things to say. We're definitely going to see a dramatic shift in our own individual physical realms of experience, but we're also going to see some major evidence of Gaia, Mother Earth's healing adventure as well. So pay attention, click it together, make the connection, and just know that you are not alone. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank you for sharing your time, your energy with me, with those other beautiful souls here in this community. I'm sending you nothing but love. And of course, we'll talk to you soon.